You're watching Force 13 live. This is your first look at what will become Subtropical Storm Alberto, according to the National Hurricane Center, who are issuing advisories beginning at 11 AM Eastern Daylight Time. They are initiating advisories, and it will be named shortly. It is effectively named already, and it is, according to them, a subtropical storm, which is highly interesting to say the least. We've also got Cyclone Mekunu, which is about to make landfall in Oman. I just wonder if we could get some imagery of that right now, actually. Here is the Oman website, and they also show the radar. So we are covering both activities today. There is Cyclone Mekunu, which is about to make landfall, according to that latest radar image. So we've got a lot of things to cover. I will be here for around an hour and a half, and we may well be joined by some other people too, if they make themselves available to us, which I have on good account that they will. What is going on with Subtropical Storm Alberto right now? Well, I'm sure Craig will have a lot to say about it shortly. He's been speaking to me this afternoon and has pointed out that there is significantly more than one centre, it would appear. And I can't really disagree. He suggests that there may well be maybe 3 or 4 different centres in Alberto, and whether it should be named or not is going to be a contentious issue at this time. Regardless, we did expect that this system would form at some point or other, and indeed the models, the GFS in particular, indicating that development would happen later on when it got closer to the coast of Florida, especially the Panhandle region, and then would move northwest into land just west of Pensacola and then dart off towards the northeast. That was just one particular scenario. There were others. Indeed, some of the GFS ensembles had the storm curving west into the Gulf of Mexico, then southwest, and goodness knows where it would go from there. Obviously, the National Hurricane Center will be releasing its forecast very shortly, with its cone and anything else that may be of interest, including rainfall probabilities and wind probabilities as well. Rainfall estimates, that is. And right now, I don't really have much else to show you apart from other satellite imagery views. Let's see if we can get the water vapor. This is what water vapor looks like right now, and it is a bit of a mess, really. I'll try and get a zoom out on that. Lots of dry air to the west of wherever the storm's centre is, supposedly. Mainly over the Yucatan Peninsula. Significant areas of dry air there. I believe we're now joined by Craig, who has a lot to say on this issue. Good afternoon.
Subtropical. This is not subtropical whatsoever. It's not at the correct latitude either to get subtropical storms, let alone it's
well, it is a bit of an assumption. My assumption is the tropical zone starts at 23 north. Have you ever known a subtropical storm in the tropical zone? Not least at 17 north in May, and it's not as if we're in January or anything. But we'll get off that. Tell us about the centres and all the centres that you've been finding. Vortices, whatever they're calling them.
Well, first things first, there's more than one we've worked out. There's at least 3, sometimes there will be 4, but the 4 sometimes just ends up straight up dying. But I'm counting 3 centers at the minute. They're not as pronounced as they once were, but doesn't really mean to stop that they could be joined together and having multiple vortices inside of that center. But I'm still seeing more than one, at least more than one.
Would you be able to screen share for us?
I guess I could try.
Well, you succeeded earlier, I know that. I know
Yes,
Craig's
I know
software
that's
is extremely temperamental, but it will free me up, which would be very nice. Where is the centre right now?
Oh,
Where
well.
is it? It's like we're looking for Wally or something.
There's one there. Let's just put a look. No, that's too far. It's a precise thing to watch out for, is where the, and then there's one there. So there's two at the minute that I can see. There's probably a little one down there, but that's hard to tell. There's probably one in there. So technically at the minute there's three, but that's questionable with this one here. That's questionable. But there's definitely two. There is definitely two.
And then you've got the old one down there, yeah. Yeah,
this one down here was the first center, well, attempted a center that was ejected. This one down here is actually going to be interfering with this one. So that's probably going to kill that center. And then this one, if this is the main center, this one here, if this is the main center, this one should become the dominant one. But at the minute, as we've noted, that there is more than one, and they seem to be fighting each other to see which one will become dominant.
And which do you think will become dominant?
Well, best bet would be this one. Best bet would be this one.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, actually. Don't you think it might be the one over Cozumel?
Well, that's hard to tell. I mean, it could be, but, you know, best bet would be either the one that I've already circled or this one. The one that you're pointing out. So these are your two best bets at which one's going to be the main dominant. This one, this center down here is either likely to just get killed or ejected at some point. That we'll never know. That my best bet would be these two centers here could be the dominant. We could end up becoming the dominant cell. A dominant cell, dominant center.
Yeah, you're still in tornado mode, aren't you?
Yeah. Even though I'm probably going to have to go back into that once this thing does eventually make landfall, because the Storm Prediction Center did issue a marginal risk for the east coast to the southeast coast of Florida, stretching to the Gulf Coast of Florida. So there's a slight chance of some severe weather, possibly the odd tornado could be possible in its outer bands. Water spouts could also be our feature.
Already have been, haven't they?
Yeah, there has been a few water spouts that I've seen spawn. Oh, hang on, help turn the mouse draw off. Normally, they've been located in this cell, either this cell here and a few of the smaller cells embedded in the actual outer bands, if you so to speak, the invest. So there is water spouts being produced. Mainly, the best bet for any current ones now would be probably occurring in this little thunderstorm in here that's well embedded. So I think that's actually moving towards the Keys. If it is, which it is, yes, it's moving. It's moving generally towards Key West, but it will miss to the west. So there are a few water spouts are a risk with this cell, and of any other thunderstorms that spawn in the outer bands of 90L.
All right. Okay then. There it is right now, I suppose. If you've got any questions for us, or else we're on the air, I'm here for an hour and a half. I don't know if anyone else will come in afterwards or not, but Subtropical Storm Alberto has formed apparently. And if you've got any questions or comments for us whilst we're on the air, as said, do start your message with Force 13 in the comments section. It will light up nicely for me and I'll be able to take all your questions. And any questions for Craig as well, of course. In the meantime, Craig has got something loading that isn't. Well, let's take a look at the National Weather Service's full overview right now. You see there's quite a lot of flood-related warnings. Of course, there's all of that gale warning over the Gulf of Mexico. That will probably be upgraded to tropical storm warnings out at sea at least. But let's look into some of these areas if we can. I'm sorry, Craig, we lost your signal for a while, so I just started talking. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, mine just dropped out as well. There we go. We're dropping like flies.
Go ahead.
Why is it sharing now? Where's my DR3? Why? Discord!
Okay, well, I'll just keep going through this. So, there's a flash flood watch in effect from Saturday evening through Tuesday evening for extreme southeast Mississippi, extreme southwest Alabama, and the western Florida panhandle. There's also a rip current statement along the coast of the Florida panhandle region. And there is a hydrologic outlook for a large area in that area as well. Let me just see what that says. A tropical disturbance across the northwest Caribbean is expected to move into the Gulf of Mexico Friday and approach the northern Gulf Coast late this weekend. Regardless of whether the system develops, which we know it has, heavy rainfall is expected to overspread the region this weekend. We'll probably get some more information about that a little later. Let's go back to Craig.
Yeah, so what you're looking at is what I've been pretty much using to track tornadoes with, and along with Hurricane Harvey and Hurricane Irma. Here you can see, well, the outer bands of 90L. Note how I am not mentioning the name, folks. And then here is possibly what could be a part of the center. This has been one of the questions. This is where visible and radar is starting to have its issues, because I know that the radar, I think that you sent me, Nathan, from, what was it, Belize? Yeah, was having issues of picking it up.
I just think it's too far away now.
Well, it's probably out of range of the radar, and it looked like it was out of range. But this is having a few issues as well because it's on the edge of the radar.
Yeah, there's nothing there at the minute because I think Cancun radar went, so I don't know what happened to that.
Yeah, the thing is, GR3 does not go that far down. It doesn't go down to Cuba. If it went down to Cuba, that would be extremely nice because I could end up seeing what's actually there. But from what I can work out, that this could be a part of the circulation or it could be another center. It's hard to tell. I wouldn't be able to tell you unless this did move a bit more northeastward. But visible imagery would probably be the best bet to determine where the centers are. But you can see here a few of the thunderstorms that have been spawning towards Key West, and some starting to blow up over Florida right now. Some of them starting to blow up in the Gulf as well, so as the storm progresses. But a few of these here down here have actually had a few potential water spouts forming out of them. This one down here had one specifically, and I can't English, folks. This one down here had a potential water spout, but it was very hard to tell due to its position on the Key West radar. But other than that, there's been nothing really to write home about, considering this thing that's got multiple centers.
Yeah, it's a crazy time that we're having right now with this development of the subtropical storm, but also we've still got Cyclone Mekunu, which is moving into Oman very soon indeed. About how long ago was the update now? Nearly 2 hours ago? We said it was 2 hours away. It doesn't look like it's moving very much because it's still off the coast at the minute, Craig. Have you got any input into Mekunu, which is now Category 3?
Yes. Mekunu, it has drastically improved compared to what it was this morning. I mean, it looked like utter roadkill this morning. It looked dreadful. Then this sudden spurt decided to take place and amongst the storm itself. So this storm has drastically improved over the course of the past 6 hours or so, considering.
Crazy.
But this storm has been moving at a very slow rate, maybe picking up a little bit more speed, but the northern eye wall is slowly but surely starting to make landfall.
Yep.
So this is going to be a very painful and very, very slow landfall by the looks of it, which therefore means that the hurricane force winds will be around a lot longer if it's a very slow moving landfall.
Yeah, maybe.
Then also that then leads to a lot more rain falling, which was already a threat anyway, regardless of the cyclone making landfall. But I didn't a couple of days. Well, this morning you wouldn't have really thought this would have been reaching Category 3, letting alone reaching 110 miles per hour at that. But it's reached 115 miles an hour.
Yes. Well, I'm just typing in the title of this stream again because I had typed it in before and it for some reason didn't save it.
I didn't say that. This is the joys of streaming on YouTube, folks. This is the joy of streaming on YouTube.
Just YouTube itself, isn't it? Really, very annoying.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
But there we are. That is Mekunu, and if you could get some RAM imagery up there, maybe a little bit later, Craig, that would be very nice as well. Because I've only got the radar here right now. But in the meantime, we're looking towards the National Hurricane Center, who will be issuing their first advisory on Subtropical Storm Alberto very soon indeed. I'm sure a lot of people will have different opinions on this storm right now, although not many of them are active. Of course, it is only getting up to 10 in the morning Central Time, that is, isn't it? Or what time are we on? 11, coming up to 11 Eastern Time. Yeah, I was wondering if the National Hurricane Center were going to be doing it an hour later then, but no, it is going to be in a few minutes' time. But if you do have any questions for us, do send them in. There may have been one or two that may have gone past already, actually. I think someone was talking about wind shear.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if someone did mention that. I'll actually get that up. But the shear over 90L, I don't even think you need a shear graphic to tell you how strong the shear is. I mean,
it is strong.
That shear is significant. It's ripping the convection. Any form of thunderstorm that's trying to blow up over 90L, I'm determined to not say its name. It's getting immediately ripped away. So technically, this storm is just going to be one of them very heavily sheared Gulf of Mexico, quote-unquote, supposed tropical storms, or this very, very questionable subtropical storm. Once I get the screenshot for the,
Craig, the National Hurricane Center have issued their advisory, and a tropical storm watch has been issued for the Yucatan Peninsula from Tulum to Cabo Catoche. I'm not sure the pronunciation of that. And the government of Cuba has issued a tropical storm watch for the western Cuban province of Pinar del Rio. So that is the current situation. No watches or warnings for the US yet. Any reaction to that? I guess not. The forecast, the National Hurricane Center are predicting 65 miles per hour. That is on the 28th, Monday. And I'm sure they'll have the cone out very soon.
Of 65.
You'll have to repeat what you just said because we didn't catch it.
They're expecting a peak of 65.
Yes.
Alright, just had something in my throat.
Yes.
Sorry. No, but here's the wind shear for 90L. The wind shear over it is relatively strong where the centers are supposedly to be. Note centers. There is light shear over them that it's enough that's causing the convection a bit of grief. Then you just look east, north, west of it. Either way, and enters that, the wind shear is just completely rip the convection off. This wind shear is around 60, 70 knots in some area over Haiti. You can see 90 knot wind shear. Obviously, the storm's not going to go there anyway. But the Gulf of Mexico, the environment is very, very hostile. I wouldn't be surprised if this thing does eventually deserving its tropical storm or supposed quote-unquote subtropical storm status. It would probably be one of them storms that's very heavily sheared and have a lot of its convection displaced to the east, which could cause, as I said earlier, could cause some severe weather threat to Florida and then the rest of the US when it makes landfall when that time comes. So a few severe thunderstorms, flooding, flash flooding could be also an issue in a later date when the storm's probably long gone, and tornadoes could also become a risk even during the storm's approach. And then when the storm's officially gone, there's still the risk of a few tornadoes possible.
Indeed. And you think wind shear might lower when it gets near the Gulf Coast, near the panhandle of Florida?
It probably will, but it could be one of them ones where the center creates its own low wind shear. So the only bit of low wind shear you'll see is the center when it does eventually get a single center. It'll probably be one of them ones where it's centered the only low wind shear zone, where the rest of it's just going to be completely high wind shear. So this thing could be either that, it could carve a little path for it with favorable conditions, which I doubt. I would be expecting what I just said, with the only low wind shear zone would be its center.
So if you just joined us, everything's happening extremely quickly. The breaking news is that the government of Mexico has issued a tropical storm watch for the east coast of the Yucatan Peninsula from Tulum to Cabo Catoche. The government of Cuba has issued a tropical storm watch for the western Cuban province of Pinar del Rio. Let's read out the National Hurricane Center's advisory whilst we keep looking at Craig's screen there. The center of Subtropical Storm Alberto was located near latitude 19.7 north, longitude 86.8 west. The storm is moving towards the north-northeast near 6 miles an hour. A general slow motion towards the north is expected through the weekend, followed by a northwest turn by Monday. On the forecast track, Alberto is expected to pass near the eastern coast of the Yucatan Peninsula tonight, be near the western tip of Cuba Saturday morning, emerge over the southeastern Gulf of Mexico by Saturday night, and approach the north-central Gulf Coast by Monday. And at the moment it's predicting a peak of 65 miles an hour. We're joined by Marcel Olos. How are you?
Fine.
And what do you think?
Okay, personally, I don't think, I don't think this storm, Albert.
I think I know what you're going to say.
No, I think Alberto is not very organized. I think this storm shouldn't be classified as subtropical.
I agree. Me and Craig, I think, would agree that this should be a tropical disturbance with 40-mile-an-hour winds, because there is no central, there's no actual circular. Well, there is, but there's several of them. But when you get to one circulation, and the convection is only half over the center at the minute. So there's
it's not really got a centralized point either. It's not really blowing over a fixed point. If you look at it, I mean, it's looking like displaced wall of severe thunderstorms, looking almost like supercells that are just getting heavily sheared. I mean, there's no real fixed point for them. They're not blowing over like a very well-defined center that's closed. I know recon supposedly to investigate this system later on. Whether they do find a closed center or not, then if they do, I will agree. But if they don't and they say they did, I will not agree, because the visible imagery and any other enhancement that you look at is saying something completely different compared to what they would say if they did say that.
There's the wind speed probabilities according to the National Hurricane Center. In 5 days, about 50% for the coast of Alabama. Just about towards Louisiana as well there. And that's about right, I would say, and that's pretty much what we're looking at right now. That's the chance of tropical storm force winds. Chance of 50 knot winds, that's 60 miles an hour, is shown here. 20% generally. And hurricane force winds for the people who are wishing a little bit maybe, as some people do. Nearly 10%.
Okay.
I'm also waiting to see whether they issue some rainfall charts as well. But that's the latest right now, and if there's any more news we'll let you know, but at the moment that is the situation. No warnings, tropical related warnings for the US at this point. Start your message with Force 13 all in text to draw us our attention, and we'll do our best to respond. Now I'm going to try and get some imagery up of that other storm that I've forgotten the name of yet again.
Mekunu. I like it how there's other storms I cannot pronounce to save my life, but yet this one I can pronounce for some weird reason.
We'll get that up very shortly. But if anyone has any questions, do let us know, because Mekunu is about to make landfall. I did show the radar earlier, but I do want to get the satellite imagery up as well, and here it is. This is the RAM imagery showing how the storm's been drawing very close to land, and as Craig said earlier on as well, it is moving terribly slowly. We were hoping it would be moving a little bit quicker than this, because obviously it's going to be even more of a rainmaker than what was forecasted. We're already talking about excess of 10 inches of rain, which is something like how many millimeters of rainfall is that? Quite a bit. 200 or so? More? 250, 300 millimeters of rain, and possibly more in isolated places. But you can see the eye there, and do you think it's good money for Category 3?
Oh yeah, that's for sure. It has looked like a Category 3. I mean, earlier this morning, you see in the earlier frames there, the complete ring of -70 cloud tops. That's enough to signify Category 3, at least of low end strength. But as I said earlier, that this thing this morning, it did not even look remotely like it deserved Category 2, let alone a 3. It's done fantastic to blow up that quick, but it's sadly that it's blown up this quick, as it's about to hit land, unfortunately.
Yes.
But, you know, that's what storms do. That's logic to them. So there's nothing really much you could do about it. Once the storm blows up, it blows up. You can't do anything about it.
You can see on this here, wind shear is about 8 knots.
Yeah, wind shear is incredibly low. This thing, the wind
sea
shear.
Surface temperatures in excess of 30 Celsius. Humidity's going down, of course.
I mean, the cyclone itself is, you just look at it, and the wind shear just allowed the door to open for this cyclone, just to take advantage of some pretty favorable conditions before its demise, before it does eventually die. I mean, just looking at the radar on the stream, it looks almost like it was almost a double eye wall. Look at trying to produce an eye wall replacement, but it's probably not going to do it. It won't get it done in time if it does ever try and do one. But the strongest section of that looks like it's going to be the northern part of the eye wall. So, and the southern part looks a little bit bare in terms of rain bands. So the cyclone itself, let alone, doesn't matter about rain bands. You're mainly going to be worried about wind speeds as well. I mean, Category 3, it's hardly a wimpy tropical cyclone. Category 3s can pack one hell of a punch, especially winds of around 115 to 125 miles per hour. That's hardly weak. But seeing this, I mean, this is only the third time I've seen a major cyclone in the Arabian Sea, and I know that, as you said yesterday, Nathan, I thought when it started to collapse, I thought you jinxed it by saying, is it going to do another Ashoba and just decide to collapse?
I wasn't being serious about that at all, actually.
Yeah, I thought you jinxed it by accident, but, you know, it did look like it. I wished it did keep collapsing, but unfortunately it just decided to keep restructuring, which is what was causing it issues, was the fact that it kept changing its structure. Then it did an eyewall replacement, which failed. The main eyewall and the secondary eyewall never closed, meaning that the storm could not strengthen but only weaken. But it eventually sorted itself out, and now here it is. It's a Category 3. It's about to make landfall. As I said, as Nathan reiterated what I said, at an absolute painful slow snail's pace. This is a very dangerous cyclone. Now that it's a major, but let alone that it being a major, it's slowing down, and it's very slow moving as it approaches land. But I mean, flooding is probably going to be right up there for threats, and then comes wind speeds. So I mean, I'm not really going to be expecting, you know, extreme damage, but heavy damage to say the least is what I would expect it if this thing does actually end up hitting populated areas.
So, Craig, the $1 million question.
Oh god. Do we get $1 million?
Maybe. Is Alberto better than Colin?
Oh god. Well, I'm gonna say that 90L does have at least some form of center. Now, Colin.
Multiple.
Colin
did when it was a tropical depression.
Oh wow! Wow!
So it should have been a tropical depression without a name. Let's not start this again. I'm sorry, we must move on. We must take some questions.
Do I get $1 million though?
No. Will says, do you think that the storm could be downgraded to a subtropical depression? Well, it is interesting how they ascertained that they had tropical storm winds in the first place. ASCAT wasn't available, so we don't really know whether it has 40-mile-an-hour winds or not. So it's more technicality. Yeah. There was another question somewhere. How do you think the National Hurricane Center got the idea of this being a TS? Well, it is a subtropical storm, but maybe that question still counts. There was another one as well. Yes, I heard the National Hurricane Center is shrinking the cone of uncertainty for 2018. Is that the right move? Well, it is based on actual progress. That there is a rhyme and reason and method behind it. That is an interesting question though, because you know that there are some storms with more uncertainty than others. So I don't know what your thoughts are on that, if any.
No.
Now, what's going on near Louisiana? Is there some weather?
Special marine warnings. I don't think these are going to be related to 90L. I'm just going to stop the loop so I can read them, see if they are. Might not be. The National Weather Service in New Orleans has special marine warning for coastal waters from 4.
Yeah, there's thunderstorms out there.
Mainly a severe thunderstorm capable of producing waterspouts was located 13 nautical miles south of Timbaler Island, moving west at 5 knots. That's a very slow moving severe thunderstorm. That would be that would be very safe to probably approach via boat if you wanted to see some waterspouts, but I wouldn't advise it because waterspouts can move faster than the storm is actually moving. The other one,
Yeah, it might not be advisable.
Yeah, no, it's not advisable. Just don't do it. Be sensible. The other one is the exact same reason. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing waterspouts, moving west at 5 knots as well. So these are very slow-moving severe thunderstorms that are moving westward, as I read out. So these would be probably and very likely prolific waterspout producers, mainly that they can produce more than 1 waterspout at a time. And sometimes they can produce even 5 if they're big enough. That's the storm that is. Because there are no strangers to having waterspouts, let's put it that way.
Yes. If you've just joined us, it's 2 minutes past 3 UTC. It is 2 minutes past 4 here at Force 13 HQ. And over in the United States, that means that it's just past 11 o'clock in the morning. And if you've just joined us, Subtropical Storm Alberto formed in the last hour or so. Craig disagrees and is moving towards the north-northeast, expected to enter the Gulf sooner or later. If you haven't seen it yet, the National Hurricane Center's forecast track looks a bit like this. Tropical storm watches have been issued for the coast of the Yucatan from Tulum northwards, including Cancun there, and Pinar del Rio in Cuba. Tropical storm watches. Now, because it's subtropical, I suppose.
Yeah.
Supposedly. I just don't buy that at all. I don't buy that at all. It's a tropical... It's tropical, but is it a storm is the question.
That's where I think we would...
Is it a disturbance with storm force winds? Does it have enough of a circulation to be called a storm? I just think subtropical storm is the characterization that makes the least sense right now.
Yeah, it's not subtropical. It does not even look remotely close to subtropical. If you can deem that subtropical, then you might as well buy me about 25 pints of beer and I will drink them all at once.
The more that we look at this visible satellite loop from GOES 16, Craig, I think the centre must... The actual centre must be just east of Cozumel right now.
It must be if there is a dominant centre in there. But as
if we can conclude that, and it's becoming more and more apparent over time, I think there is grounds to call this tropical storm very, very soon.
I mean, I'm still seeing at least 2 centres, but they'll be starting to merge. So I'm thinking the one that was embedded in the convection started to finally become dominant. But I'm going to wait and see what Recon says. If they do find 1 centre, or they find more than 1, then it shouldn't really be deemed as a tropical storm, because you have to name one of them tropical, but there's no point in doing that. Because looking at the bottom side of the latest image of...
well, look at the NHC's track map. Which centre are they going with on that track map? It looks like it's sort of in the middle of nowhere that they've put that. It doesn't represent the current situation anyway.
I mean, the way they've got the quote-unquote tropical storm force winds, it's almost like it is virtually, dare I say this dreaded name, is Philippe. Because that had the its winds based on the eastern side. And it had absolutely none on the western side. But obviously that's going to be due to the wind shear, which was very strong. But, you know, I thought at least having a tropical storm, it has to have 1 centre. But as you're looking at 90L, that it still looks like it's got at least 2 centres. But as I said,
It is
the
getting more
recon is
convincing
supposedly
over
going
time.
out. Yeah, but as recon is supposedly to go out and investigate, I'll be willing to say if they do find it, then right, I'll have to shut up and agree. Unfortunately,
That will happen
Isn't
sooner or later. Craig is so hell-bent against this storm because he had a bet on it.
Shh. Let's not go there. But I still don't think that this really. I'm agreeing with what Nathan is saying here, not just because I'm being biased or anything, but it should still technically be classified as a disturbance. Right enough, okay, it should have a very high chance of forming, but I still think it should be a disturbance.
Now, is that a new image that's come in there? I think so.
What was the timestamp?
This is the 2:30 UTC image, which
Yeah,
is just
I've
over
got the
half
same
an
one.
hour ago. Do you want to
Yeah,
take a look?
I'm still seeing at least 2 centers in there.
Do you want to do some more annotations on yours and see what the deal is now?
I mean, the old center's still there, so it's still very much interfering with it. Very much so.
Could you point it out on your screen because you've got the marker pen and I don't?
Well, I thought you were using the sliders, but
I think it's helpful to the viewers. It's just that I can't do it whilst I'm running this. But there's another view. And Craig, what do you think? Where's the centre?
Well, there's one. Hang on. Yep. Did get the mesh going. Well, there's one there.
Now that I think is going to be, or is the dominant centre.
And then where I'm thinking it, there's another little vortice in there somewhere. So they are starting to become tight together, and I'm trying to look and see if there's any more. Obviously you still got this one down here, the original, which is being ejected. So this is still interfering with it. This is very much still interfering with the one of the centers at least. But as you can see, it's moving further away from it. That's too far back. But other than that, I think I can only just still see 2 centers. There's something questionable in there, but I'm not really going to count that as a 3rd center. But I could if I wanted to. I feel like doing it because I feel like being more biased towards it. But anywhere in here, one of these 2 is going to be the dominant center. Probably going to be this one, seeing as how it's more embedded in more solid convection rather than this one is. This one isn't really shrouded in solid convection. This one's very, very weak. It's broken. Whereas this one isn't much better. This one's actually going to probably become exposed at some point. So, well, whether we'll end up seeing it at some point remains to be seen. But this one down here that I circled is very likely to be a small vortice. So that'll probably go into the convection or just dissipate where it is and just go unnoticed. This one in here could also be another vortice. This one's a little bit stronger than what this one is. So this one could be... What we know is that these are 2 battling centers. So technically the storm is now got 2 dominant centers, but only one can survive, obviously. I don't know why Marcel sounded like a bird, but I'm not going to...
Marcel, what are your thoughts?
I think this storm shouldn't be classified as a tropical.
Yeah, that's what you said earlier.
event.
But you think it's getting closer?
Yes, it can.
Yes.
For me, it can be a storm, but not in this moment.
Yes. We've also got Julio Cesar in the room as well. I don't know if you'd like to say anything at this point. I didn't know whether he'd be on chatting or not, but I do not know. What we're looking at now, Craig. Just before you go to that,
This just came into my head. This is a very valuable tool.
Just before you do that, I just want to take a look at the latest radar image for Mekunu, which is still off the coast of Salalar and just doesn't seem to be moving right now. So we do know, of course, I mean, pretty much over the radar, you can see a little indentation there, Craig. I don't know if you're able to see this, where the radar is situated, and it looks like the worst of the storm is literally right over it almost.
Yeah. I would probably agree with this point that it wouldn't be far away from having that near enough being confirmed landfall. It would only be the northern eye wall should now be what? Not very far offshore, I would imagine.
Pretty much starting to move on now. Let's go back to your imagery.
Well, I was foolish enough not to actually think about this, but now that I have, I'm glad I... this is this thing in the Caribbean called 90L.
Alberto.
No, 90L.
Subtropical storm Alberto.
Here, even this, it has more than one center. So even the integrated water vapor imagery is detecting more than one center. So technically, this storm should still not be named. This storm should still be a disturbance with a very high chance of forming. The moisture around it is very high, which is you would expect for a developing system, try and develop at least. But it is looking like it's caught some form of dry air over Costa Rica, and it's hailing it in, so that could cause it a few bit of problems. The rest of the Atlantic is pretty darn dry. Well, you can put the Saharan Desert in there; it's that dry.
I'll tell you what we're going to do about this. We're going to start a poll on the Force 13 channel.
Oh, Christ. What are you doing, Nathan? You've been thinking it's dangerous.
Well,
You're serious.
well, Craig thinks that this shouldn't be named Storm right now. So I'm going to start running a live poll, folks, on the Force 13 community tab, because apparently they did that recently on YouTube. And we'll see how many votes we get during the course of this live stream, Craig, and see how many people agree with you or not.
Well, obviously not. I'm not holding exactly high hopes for it, and am I?
Hey?
Oh, God.
Well, we'll see what they say. So, there's a no vote for Craig. He'll probably go straight to the voting, and it's now online. So, we'll see what they say.
I'm telling you now, it's not worth it.
Not worth it.
You're gonna have more yeses than you are no's.
Well, if you want to take part in that poll, go to the main channel page and the community tab.
Oh, God.
Could we possibly take a look at the Indian Ocean on this view as well that you're showing us?
Yes, we can. Indian Ocean. So here you can see a much healthier, soon to be dead, Mekunu. You can see how it's progressively raced northwards.
Look how much water vapor's in the Bay of Bengal, by the way.
Yeah, there's something broad. There's a very broad circulation. You see that in the actual look, that there is something broad near Sri Lanka and eastern India. So there's something trying to maybe spin up in the Bay of Bengal, and then there's maybe a small little vortex spin up here in the South Indian, but I doubt that'll do anything.
Okay, Craig, that poll's been on for 1 minute, and after 13 votes, 62% no. What do you think? 62% agree with you at the minute. Well,
I'm glad there are people out there that do agree with.
For balance, I'll try and make the yes argument. As you can see on the imagery, this is the latest visible. It's got convection, mainly to the north and east. The convection is over the centre, and if you treat it as one circulation, which is the part that is, under debate, is it one defined centre or not? If it is, then it's tropical storm Alberto. I don't think there's really any case for subtropical storm Alberto.
No, that's certain. It's not subtropical.
Where is the poll?
It's on the community tab on our channel, as I said before.
God.
If you do want to take part in that.
I can't believe this is what it's boiled down to.
We'll run it till the end of the event. Well, I'm here for maybe half an hour or so. I'm not sure exactly. But after we do go off the air a little bit later, we will be back in the evening. Anyway, did you finish talking about that, or did you have some more to say?
No, I was just going to point out, just in case if anybody was wondering what this basin is, it's called the Western Pacific. It's dead. That's me finished now.
Oh, okay. Is there anything else you could show us?
Well, there's not many more special toys that I managed to dig up on Sims or Noah or anything else. I could just go back to GR3. That's about it, unless I could give you an update on the imagery for Mekunu.
Oh, and Julio Cesar also made a comment in our room here. He can't speak right now, but his thoughts are, it shouldn't even be a subtropical storm, it should be a potential tropical storm. I can't disagree with that.
Okay, so there's the recent image of Mekunu. The eye's obviously looking like it's going to try and expand a little bit, but the storm has improved somewhat going up to landfall, but for the love of God, Mekunu, just get it over with.
Yeah.
The poor people cannot take much more of the suspense.
Looking at it, how far off the coast is that now? Maybe 20 miles?
I would probably would have said around 25 or so, but wouldn't be far off of my estimate.
About 30-40 kilometers off the coast.
Yeah, and the eye wall is virtually near enough on shore.
Yeah.
But it's pretty much a foregone conclusion that we are going to see a Category 3 landfall.
Yeah.
I'll be amazed if this thing does weaken.
Could weaken slightly, couldn't it? The Indian Meteorological Department are calling it an extremely severe cyclonic storm, pretty much the same thing. Their wind speed, according to them, they're saying 105, 110 still. They've not gone with 115. So, just a slight difference there.
Only slight.
Although an important one in some circles. Let's just get the latest radar image from Saladar again. I know we saw it not so long ago. We'll just have another little look, and it still remains quite significantly off the coast, and the strongest part of the storm remains to the north by the looks of things, and it's going to be a long afternoon, evening.
Yeah, it is. But mainly not really in terms of Mekunu. I mean, Mekunu, once it makes landfall, unfortunately, Mekunu is just going to be forgotten about. It's going to be straight onto 90L. Once Mekunu's made landfall, Mekunu's not really going to be on center stage, if you want to put it that way. It would mainly be 90L.
And what is on centre stage? I mean, well, ask a lot of people. This already is centre stage, Subtropical Storm Alberto. But we are covering both items as faithfully as we can. But there it is right now. And the National Hurricane Centre's forecast cone, if you missed it, looks like this. They're calling first tropical storm and a tropical storm landfall. I think it was that a 65-mile-an-hour landfall they were saying as well, or weakening before landfall?
Oh, that would be telling.
I think it was 65-mile-an-hour landfall.
I know that they were saying that for Pete, so I wouldn't be surprised if they were saying that for landfall. I'll just have a quick check.
They're saying a landfall in Mississippi, but it could be anywhere within that cone, as far east as Pensacola area, and as far west as west of New Orleans towards Lake Charles. I doubt that will happen, but you never know.
55.
And when was the last time the National Hurricane Center really messed up on a forecast?
Erica?
Fair point. 2015. Well, would you count
Joaquin?
Yeah, would you count that?
Yeah.
I suppose Matthew as well, to a degree.
Yep, said it would just be a depression. Nah. Said it became a Cat 4.
Matthew would loop around the Western Atlantic.
Yep. No, anyone else? Anything else?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think those are the
No.
only two, really.
Well, there's been 24 votes on the poll, Craig. 54% now agree with you that it shouldn't be a subtropical storm.
Yes, I'm glad there are people who are agreeing with me on this.
But this is how it is right now. And let's take a look back onto the satellite imagery to see if there's any new information that we can garner off this visually, and whether there's any grounds to call it a cyclone. So look on the latest imagery. It is very close to being called a tropical storm now.
I'm just gonna wait and see what the recon says, because I know recon's going out later today.
Can you tell us a bit more about that?
But sadly I can't. But I know they're the time that they're going out at. I think it was supposedly 17:30 Zulu or something around there. Something around there. I would mainly keep an eye on Tropical Tidbits, air reconnaissance, to see if there's anything going into 90L at that point, to see if it's got another
Craig
center.
sticking to his guns.
Yep. I am determined to not mention its name because it doesn't deserve it. It shouldn't be called Alberto.
Well, this is the home of storm opinion, folks.
It's stormophobic, folks.
Stormophobia. And it is also, we also make the distinction that it is the 4th year in a row of pre-season activity.
I'm still seeing that there's actually something in there. There's something in there. And then there's obviously something.
Sorry,
right
what?
about there.
Hold on.
No.
We've not got your screen yet. What are we looking at?
I've got GR3 up. That's why you can't see it.
We're looking
at
now.
I was looking at that's GR3. That's not what I was going for. Right, that's what I was going for. So what I was looking at was 90L. You can see that there's something in there. There's another rotation in there. But obviously there's something in here, the main circulation that could be in here. There was a little vortice, you can see where it just pulled it in, and this is where our main vortices, our center, should be. But there's also, as I said, there's something here. I'll just remove the vandalism of the imagery. You can see, and there,
Vandalism.
it's actually rotating, so there's another circulation deeply embedded in the convection, and that's not a part of the center's, the main center's circulation. There's another center in there, so there's still another two, and it's right about in that position.
Really?
So there's two centers still. One deeply embedded. It shouldn't really last long. That should just be a vortice, so that should dissipate.
Matthew Smith drawing a comparison to Cindy. Thoughts on that?
Well, in terms of vortices inside of the center, you would have a point. I mean, you wouldn't really be far away with that, to be honest with you, because Cindy did have the exact same thing.
We are covering
center.
We are covering two things at once here. Let's go back to the Indian Ocean, to Oman, and you can see here the latest indicated water rainfall. This is sort of like another version of, not really radar, but it's from the satellite, just to give you an indication of how the storm has been moving recently. I wonder if we could get the visible imagery up there as well. We'll have that for you very shortly. But you can see how slowly it's been moving, and really labouring the issue right now.
Yeah.
Not good news. Now here we might have some visible imagery. We should have 12 hours worth of it here once it loads. Well, we won't actually have 12 hours because I don't think the sun's been up for 12 hours there. Might have been just about. We'll get that up very shortly. Let's go back to Craig's screen whilst we wait for that.
Yeah, I mean, this is just a complete mess. Looking at in terms of centers, if you like.
If you've just joined us, that's all you need to know.
Yeah, this is a complete mess.
Yes.
As you can see, here's what center number 1, and then somewhere in here is center number 2. So we're still dealing with 2 centers. We are still dealing with two centers. And if you want to know what that is an old ejected center from the first attempt at a
Yes.
circulation. So discard this. Discard it. It's dead. It's gonna be. It's there. Ignore it.
Oh dear, oh dear. Now we've got some visible imagery of Mekunu and how it's been progressing throughout today. This goes back 12 hours, so you can see how far it's moved in 12 hours. And Craig, look at those last few hours on this satellite. It has stalled. Are you seeing it? I know. Marcel, are you seeing it?
Yes.
What do you think of that?
It has definitely stalled.
That's not good news. It's terrible
Yeah,
news.
that's stalled.
Yeah.
That has done a car engine. It has missed a gear and stalled.
Although it does mean that Salalar is just to the northeast of the storm. Maybe if we just took this off to show the map briefly, you can see where Salalar is on that map. And now it's heading towards the Yemeni border, really. But Salalar is just on the very edge of the storm's core right now. But at the minute, it looks like the storm was initially heading right for the city of Salalar. Population's over 300,000 there. But now it looks like it's just curved west. Now it could jog back east again, you never know, because it has stalled. Who knows where it's going to go next. But this is rather interesting here, and goodness knows what's going to be happening in the next few hours. And could you imagine if it was to turn south?
Yeah, if just a little alert. If anyone decides to look at the the NAM model, yeah, just don't. Let's just not go there.
Right now, everyone's going to look.
I'm swearing to God. I literally pray to the folks. Please, for the love of God, don't. I mean, it's totally not like it's dreamcasting here for a 947 millibar hurricane to happen.
Hasn't it been doing that for some time?
Like it's saying that. I mean, that's the thing I don't get with models. The GFS supposedly had an update last year before the Atlantic hurricane season happened. And then the amount of sub 900 millibar storms that predicted beforehand was completely outrageous. The worst obviously being Irma before Nauru or whenever. No, in fact, Nauru was before that. So, I mean, I don't know what happened during that day. I mean, something obviously went wrong. But I thought updates were supposed to help model runs, not break them.
Well, there we are. I don't suppose you want to show us some models, because we don't have too much time left.
Yes, I'll quickly do that. Rather than blabbing on about updates and all that nonsense and all the such of the such like. Because nobody wants to hear that. I'm just going to quickly have a look at recon and see if there's a plane being prepared to depart. Wow. Don't look at the tropical tidbits active storms. It doesn't have much for I almost said it.
Oh, we almost said it.
90L.
Getting closer. Craig's gonna call it Alberto before the end of the show. He is.
How much are you willing to bet?
There's more votes have come in, and it's shifted the other way now. Only 37% agree with you now that it shouldn't have been called a subtropical storm.
I wonder what percentage is saying that.
People have all sorts of different opinions because, you know, some people might agree that it should be called a tropical storm, and there is a case for that. There's just really no case to call it a subtropical storm. There is a case to call it a potential tropical
really
cyclone.
Subtropical. I would have to disagree. It's not subtropical.
When was the last time you saw one in the Caribbean?
Yeah.
Where sea surface temperatures are 28 or whatever they are. Anyway, to the model.
So here's the Dreamcast model of GFS.
Okay.
Yeah, you're being a bit hopeful there, GFS. You're being a...
But but on what basis can you say that? It might happen.
Well, it's GFS. I mean, it's not covering itself in glory. Let's put it that way. I mean, it never really does.
What's it saying for intensity there?
Nonetheless, but I mean, they're saying that a little bit more further eastward.
What's it saying for peak intensity?
That's around. What's that? 992 at peak.
So why are you discounting that? That's pretty much what the NHC is saying.
I'm not discounting it. Oh my god. No, the wind speeds I'll be discounting. That's what I'll be discounting.
What were the wind speeds?
They're probably, well, seeing how this is going to be 10-minute wind speeds, these are probably going to be around, what's that? Highest wind speed. So there's around 48 knots there, 996. Doesn't even look tropical there.
And what's the name of the storm again?
What?
What's the name of the storm again?
No.
Shame.
90L. See, this is what you're trying to do.
Tropical Cyclone 1.
Something like that.
Anyway, onto the European
We'll get
model.
Craig to call it Alberto before the end of the show.
You won't. You won't. You won't. So here's the 500.
We might not. We've only
height.
got 10 minutes left.
Yeah, exactly. 90L. I almost said 91. Why was I going to say 91? Oh well, it's better also avoiding the name. So an 500 millibar height is 985, so that would correspond to a relatively moderate strength tropical storm. But I'm pretty much agreeing with what the National Hurricane Center is saying, making landfall exactly where they predict it to go. Then ACMWF predicts it to go out and probably become round about this stage here, maybe produce maybe a severe weather event, maybe the odd tornado or two could be possible as it moves northeast and then supposedly curves out, and then we'll just ignore that. NavJam, I don't know whether they've been saying much, but I know that pretty much every model, unfortunately, developed this thing, unfortunately. Okay. I'll be fine where it is. So this is another 500 millibar height. So here's what they're saying. Here's 90L. NavJam.
That's interesting.
It's sort of unsure what to do with it. I know this is 500 millibar height, but it's sort of unsure what to do with it. It doesn't know whether to form it up there or not.
Weak tropical storm.
Round about there. Probably around 40 miles per hour. Dreamcast model number 2, as you can already guess.
The HWRF.
Let me zero the model run if it would hurry up. Come on, time is of the essence here. Thank you. So here's what the Wishcast model number 2 thinks. So it's picking up the same thing as what we're seeing now. So it's picking up that it has multiple centers.
It's trying to can't get a handle on it, can it?
Yeah, that's why you can see it bouncing around like a ping pong ball. You can see it bouncing everywhere.
Is it fair to say that we're expecting this to be a Cindy-like storm?
Yeah, HWRF is predicting that. See, here you can see around... Oh, there's another center at least off to the left here, right off the edge, near off the edge of the image. So there's another center at least. And then it's still fighting itself. There's another couple of little vortices at least near the center. And there's another vortice. So they're expecting this to be at least a Cindy type storm. There's another few vortices. So that, yeah, HWRF is predicting this to at least be another Cindy type storm. Just provided they're not trying to say hurricane. If they say hurricane, I will chase them. But they're saying that this thing could just virtually just right along the coast before obviously making a landfall. but slightly disagreeing with the NHC. Probably slightly disagreeing. Only slightly. Oh, HWR, if you would. 70 miles per hour.
Yes, it has been hinting at borderline hurricane, yes.
I'm thinking a bit hopeful from it. A bit hopeful. And then it goes... What's that? Goes westward. Okay, I'm just not going to go
over
any
Louisiana.
And it goes back out.
And then curves south. Well, I'm not going to bother doing Mekunu. There's no point. So that was the models. Stunned silence.
Yes, that was the models. Let's look back. This, if you missed it earlier, is the latest on Cyclone Mekunu, which is stalling off the coast of Oman. Can you believe it? Craig, if you could bring some latest imagery up of Alberto, that would also be nice.
Oh, quickly have a look at Mekunu while I'm at it, so I may as well just do Mekunu first while I'm putting it up. So, yeah, it's still trying to improve, but upwelling now going to probably start becoming a threat. So this could actually be a saving grace here. So this could be a very big saving grace.
What do you mean?
Well, upwelling will be a major factor if this thing does remain stalled for a certain amount of time.
Well, he's dumping a huge amount of rainfall, though.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate thing, but at least there would be some form of consolation of wind speeds not being as strong, but still being a relatively strong cyclone, probably around Category 2 strength, obviously. But certainly not a major hurricane-forced system. Now, on to 90L, because I know what Nathan's trying to do. He's trying to bait me. I know what you're trying to do, Nathan. I know what you're.
Well, you know, it is what it is. The National Hurricane Centre have called it Alberto, and you're still losing favour in the poll.
Nathan, that's what I was saying. I wasn't holding every form of the hope for it.
Well, now it's
because everyone beforehand was saying it would form.
30% of people do agree with you that it shouldn't have been designated.
I'm actually starting to wonder whether it's some of the people that said that it shouldn't be formed or shouldn't be named are now suddenly going, I'm just going to switch my vote here. I wonder how many people are doing that.
Well, here's some comments in relation to that poll as well.
Oh, God.
Ready? One of them is Julio Cesar, who's here with us right now, who already expressed his viewpoint that it should have been a PTC, and I could agree with that.
I would actually agree.
GD Earthquake said, no, because just look at it. It looks like it has nothing on itself. Bargathas said...
Give that commenter a medal.
Bargathas said no, because it looks like its centre has been blended slightly. In a blender, maybe, I don't know.
Yep. It looks like a piece of roadkill.
Dennis RG says yes, no convection near the centre, hence subtropical, but well-defined circulation. I have to disagree on well-defined circulation, I'm afraid.
And subtropical.
Oh my god!
EB Gaming said yes, just to say hi to the stream. Luke Cat says yes, it has a clear enough circulation, and we can all agree it will probably become Alberto even if it is not Alberto right now. I can agree with that. Plus, it's better to send the public warnings now so people have more time to prepare. Well, that's what the reason to have a PTC is. And Phantom Foxy 101 said yes, I literally just got the notification that the storm had formed.
Oh my god.
Japan
So there's people that haven't really.
So it's varying opinions, and we do. It is an inexact science, and this is why it is so fascinating to see everyone's diverging opinions on the system. I think it is tantalizingly close to tropical storm status.
There's still two centers in that. It's up there now.
Yeah.
There's still two centers.
Well,
they're orbiting now. They're starting to orbit. I think the HWRF could be right with this. I honestly think it. See, it's that much of a shock. I can't even English properly.
Oh, boy.
I honestly think the HWRF could be right about this having vortices around its center. So I can't remember who made the comment about it possibly being another Cindy. I mean,
Me?
you have a very strong case about it.
I did, and I think other people did as well, to be fair.
Yeah.
But there we are. I suppose that's all for us for now, because I have to leave very shortly indeed, in just a few moments' time. So at this point, I'm going to say thank you to all of the participants in the room, Craig, Julio and Marcel. Nice of you to join us. And thank you for the participation, and indeed for the viewers as well. And of course we will stay on top of this system. I'm away for a few hours at least, but there may be more updates on the channel in the meantime, and it's more likely than not that we will be doing another live event later on this evening. I expect somewhere around, let's see, the 5 PM Eastern Time advisory. Somewhere around then we will be doing another live event, or at least a normal update. We'll be doing something. So stay tuned to the channel, subscribe if you haven't already, because that's how you can be notified of any new developments. And in the meantime, we'll be waiting to see what happens with what should be Alberto, and indeed the landfall of the stalling Cyclone Mekunu, which is very disappointing on all fronts, because that storm is going to be quite nasty for that area that it's making landfall on. Huge amount of rainfall being seen. But that's all from us. We'll see you again a little later on, and goodbye for now. Oh look, Craig's showing the... Who's that showing the subscriber count? I was going to the wrong thing. Yes, Craig, that has happened. We never like to boast about it because it's not worth boasting over. We show the... we do what we do the best that we can indeed, and if people follow us for those reasons, then that, I suppose, is all the better and gives us more of a reason to do even better updates. But there we go. That's all for now. See you soon.